Hello everyone, we're Team 4 and we're going to present our survey on cultural differences. And we're gonna separate the content into 4 different major parts. The first part is about food, weather, and costume. The second part is about education, and the third part is about festival, and the end is about you and us. So we have conducted the survey on 14 foreigners, and there are 8 from Asia countries, 4 from Europe, 1 from Africa, and 1 from America, and no one from Oceania. And the gender is like the major part, which is 73.7% is male and 26.3% is female. And the major portion from the age is between 20 to 29. So the first question we have asked is, what is your favorite food in your home country? And from Asia, I think people are familiar with this food. The first one is from Korea. It is spicy seafood noodle. And the second one is makute. And he say there's no English name in this meal. And the third one is from Thailand. It's seasoned fried pork on rice. And the fourth one is clay pot rice. And the fifth one is indomie, which is an instant noodle from Indonesia. And for European, the first one is steak with dumpling from Republic of Czech. And the second one is blini from Russia, and the third one is sausage from Ireland. And for African, his favorite food is fried bread food and fried fish. And for American, his favorite food is salty red bean. So the second question is, what's the most famous delicacy in their home country? And there are some meals that we are familiar with. So I'm going to talk about only 2 things. The first one is the doner from Turkey. It is in Chinese, shawarma. And the second one is tamales. Tamales from Republic of Honduras. This is like our rice dumpling, which is made by dough and pork, meat and some vegetable. So among all the Taiwanese food, the hot pot is ranked number 1 of their favorite, and the second one is beef noodle, and then these are their favorite food in Taiwan.
So next I'm going to talk about the food differences. So among all the samples, I chose 3 of them, which is really special or interesting to share with you. The first one is Turkey. In Taiwan, we just cook rice and eat it. But in Turkey, they will cook the rice with salt and butter, so the flavor will be a little different. And in Taiwan, we always say that the people in Tainan like to add sugar in everything. And this is the same in Russia. They add sugar in almost every food. And goes to Thai food. Thai food will focus on balancing the 4 flavors: sweet, sour, spicy, and salty. But some of the food will emphasize a couple of the flavors to the extreme, especially the sourness and the spiciness. And after they come to Taiwan, what do they think about the food in Taiwan? Except some of the people from Southeast Asia, most of the people think the food in Taiwan is greasy, and we add a lot of seasoning, so we have stronger taste and a little unhealthy. But the interviewees from like Indonesia or Malaysia thinks that our food is not that spicy to them, and we don't add that much MSG. And an interesting thing is the interviewee from Honduras said that their red bean is cooked salty, but we cook it sweet. So after talking about the food, I was talking about the dressing styles. There are two interesting samples. The first one is Turkey. Some conservative ones in Turkey will wear hijab. It means the things on their head, and it's the clothing of Muslims. And then in recent years, wearing full tracksuit attire has been a trend in Ireland due to some cultural reasons. So what do they think about the dressing style in Taiwan? Some says that we are Asian clothing style and we are also influenced by Korea. And we have brighter color and more stylish. But one interviewee from Thailand says that we prefer comfort over style. So we will wear streetwear type, while the Thailand girl will wear more girly. And sometimes the weather will influence the dressing style. So I'll talk about the weather in their home country. So the first one is Malaysia and Indonesia. They belong to the tropical climate. So they are very hot and humid, and sometimes there will be thunderstorms in the afternoon. And the second one is Turkey. Turkey is next to the Mediterranean Sea, so it will be hot and dry in summer, but more humid in fall and winter. So it will rain a lot in fall and snowing in winter. And it's Germany. Germany is very cold in winter, and sometimes it will snowing until April. But when it turns to summer, it can be really, really hot. And then the country above us is Korea. Korea has 4 distinct seasons, and it's really cold and dry. So a lot of people like to ski there. And then goes to Thailand. Just like almost all of the Southeast Asian countries, it's hot all year round and also humid. And goes to St. Vincent. St. Vincent has 2 seasons, the wet one and the dry one, and it's really hot, but it is not humid. Just like the one below him, Republic of Hong Kong. It's really hot too, but it's also dry. So the Hong Kong near Taiwan, so the weather is as same as us, but a little humid. And then goes to Russia. Russia, the temperature in Russia changes dramatically between seasons to seasons. So in summer, it can be really hot. But when it goes to autumn, it can be around 15 to 20 degrees. But when it goes to the winter, it can drop to minus 30 degrees. And then change to Czech. Czech have 4 different seasons. And just like Turkey is next to the Mediterranean Sea, so it also have a dry and hot summer. And the last one is Ireland. Ireland rains really much, and it has beautiful dazzling sun out during the day, but 80% of them are deceitful.
And next I am going to talk about how the weather in Taiwan bothers the international students. Because they have similar answers, so we just take 3 for example. So for the Asia, we got the representative, it's Thai, and she said that the weather in Taiwan is so wet that she has no shoes to wear. And for the European, we have German as a representative, and he said that the high temperature and humidity really bothers him a lot. And then we take Honduras as the American representative, and he said that the weather is actually too humid. And so to summarize, Taiwanese, the weather in Taiwan is actually too hot and too humid. And actually that's what we also think about Taiwan's weather. And the next is the atmosphere on campus in their hometown. And there's 3 countries actually said that they interact more in their classes compared to Taiwan for Turkey, St. Vincent, and Russia. And for Russia, I think that it's quite interesting is that Russia thinks that the professor in Taiwan actually helped them to become friends, but in Russia they don't. Although they interact more in class, but actually just listen to teachers in class and interact to their teachers, so they don't actually have to split into groups and interact with their classmates. And for Turkish, they think she thinks that actually the Turkish thinks that actually Taiwanese professor has like control too much to students, because some professors and teachers will like control students' relationship, and for the country for when they are in Turkey they don't actually do that. And the next one is the education system in Thailand. So she said that actually they don't have to go to cram school or have tutors after school, and this is actually what Taiwanese students do after school, especially in high school. And compared to Taiwan, they have relatively small scales of class. So for teachers, they are easy to have bond with students. So they also encourage their students to study for their own interest. And for the education in Malaysia, they think that social skills are actually more important, because they think that Taiwanese students actually care a lot about score. But in Malaysia, they think that social skills is more important. And actually they encourage their students to start their own businesses. And the next is the education system in Ireland. I interviewed the Ireland student, and he said that students will actually typically be more reserved in class, but actually they don't interact to teachers in class. And the teacher is actually really used to it, and the teachers is good at like engaging with students, although the students actually don't answer to them. And the next is the Republic of Honduras. He said that the public university are bigger in Honduras, and clubs are not popular, but we found something really interesting is that although Honduras said that the clubs are not popular in Taiwan, but actually Turkish students said that they think that actually they spend about 6 hours a week in clubs. So I think that's the differences we found in the interview. And the next is the atmosphere in campus in Taiwan. And we found that about half of the students said that Taiwanese student is actually afraid to speak. For example, for the Germans said that it's where more distance between teachers and students in Taiwan. And also, like, the Thai said that the interaction between teacher and students is limited. But she said that this is actually understandable, because like the class in Taiwan is actually have bigger scale. So maybe like 40 to 50 students in a class, and we only see each other about once or twice a week. So she thinks that actually it's understandable. And something interesting is that there's 45.5% said that Taiwanese students are afraid to speak, but also 27.3% said that Taiwanese students actually speak a lot. For Irish said that Taiwanese students tend to ask a lot more questions in class. And the German says that students in Taiwan are more busy due to the homeworks and presentations.
Okay, and next I'm going to introduce about festival. And as everyone knows, different countries have different festivals, so it's hard to use diagram to introduce this part. And in our interview, we asked the interviewers 2 questions, which is, what is your favorite festival, and what is the most famous festival in your country? And usually the answer to these 2 questions are the same. So, and as everyone knows, people like Christmas, Halloween, Lunar New Year, and so on. But I think none of these sounds interesting to you. So today I picked 3, the most special festivals that I think and I want to introduce to all of you. And the first one is Songkran Festival. And the second is Oktoberfest Festival. And the third is the Holy Week. So the first one, Songkran Festival, which is known as the Thai New Year, and we usually call 泼水节 in Chinese. And according to our interviews, they say Songkran Festival is their most famous festival, and it takes place on the same day every year, which is on April 13th to the 5th. And water is an important element in this festival. So, and as in the recent year, people began to pour waters on others. And if you are prepared to pay a visit to Thailand, you should be prepared to be splashed. And appreciation to family is another important aspect of the festival. People pay visit to their older relatives and enjoy a reunion dinner. And what's more, they often visit the temple near their house, and what they do is to pour water on the monk in the temple, and it is said that it is to show respect to it. And the next is called Oktoberfest, and which is called 慕尼黑啤酒节 in Chinese, and it is held in September 17 to October the 3rd, and which is held in Munich. And the most famous activity is to drink beer. So if you really like beer, this is a good option for you. And a fun fact about this festival is that the mayor will finish the first liter of beer, and after that, the other people will start to drink beer. And that is a quite interesting activity. And according to statistics, 77.7 million liters of beer has been consumed in the festival in 2014, and that is a huge number. And the third one is called the Holy Week, and it's about religion. And this festival is recommended by a woman from Honduras. And this is a sacred week to them. And how they spend this festival is to make different patterns on wool. And although it is a sacred festival, but according to our interviewees, they say that they often travel around to spend this festival. So I think it is quite interesting. So these three are the most special festivals that I think. And if you got a chance to take a visit to this country, don't forget to give this festival a try.
I'm going to talk about the taboos in their home countries. And I have picked up the most two special issues. That the first one is politics. In Germany, they are formed to be on the right side in politics. And they also are forbidden to talk about the World War II because of the history. And in Turkey, they are forbidden to talk about politics in public. And in Thailand, defaming the Thai royal family is also the taboos. The other issues is LGBT, which means lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. Because Saint Vincent is a Christian country and Indonesia is a Muslim country, so LGBT is a taboo in their countries. And I'm going to introduce in individual countries. In Thailand, standing straight and stand still when their national anthem is playing is also a taboo. And they cannot touch the head of someone who is older than one. For the next country is Ireland. Ireland is a very conservative country. So sex before marriage, abortion, divorce are all taboos in their country. And for Korea, only bow once to alive elders because twice is for dead people. Very different from Taiwan. They cannot take off their shoes when going indoors. And the next one is they cannot use red ink to write people's names, which is very similar to Taiwan, which means it is make a curve one. And the last country is Malaysia. They cannot eat with their left hand because they think that their left hand is very dirty. And LGBT is not only a taboo, it's also a crime in Malaysia. And the next question is, what is their most impressed Taiwanese festival? And there are 5 people all answer that Lantern Festival. One of them have go to Pingxi to release the Sky Lantern. And 2 of them have go to the Kaohsiung to enjoy the lightning shows. And many of them, they like to eat yuan xiao. Other festival is Qingming and Mid-Autumn Festival, Chinese New Year, and Moon Festival. According to the last question, Qingming Festival is some of them impressed festival because they think that tongue sweeping and burning paper money is very confusing. Other confusing Taiwan custom is that they have discovered that Taiwanese very like to making line and for such a long time to catch up sensation. And the other is Taiwanese like to jaywalking. So
the last question is that why they choose to come to Taiwan. The most of they say for first is they think that Taiwan university have the cheapest tuition, and compared to others European and American university, Taiwan and other Asian country, Taiwan actually have a cheaper tuition. And the other answer is that they think Taiwan have a very convenient public transportation system because Taipei is very small. So that, especially the bus system, they think that the bus system is very, very convenient. And last is that they have already know that Taiwanese is very friendly. So they think that come to Taiwan can make them get used to this new environment quickly.
And now I'm gonna introduce the thing that impressed our interviewees. The first one is the nice people. Also, many of them cannot speak Chinese fluently, but Taiwanese people will still help them solve their problems in passion. And safety is also something that they are impressed about when they first came to Taiwan. People can just simply leave their things on their seats in a restaurant or cafe and just go for the toilet without worrying that their things might be stolen. And convenience stores is everywhere in Taiwan, and it's very convenient. And many of them think that it's very convenient for them to go finding foods or buy anything they want in night. And then some of them say that compared to their home country, the speed of the office in Taiwan is very quick. And some of them are impressed by the rich history and culture in Taiwan. And under the severe pandemic, many of them admire the freedom in Taiwan. And finishing speaking of the thing that impressed them, let's talk about the thing which bothers them right now. The most they shared is the language barrier. Interviewees all over the world have to face this inevitable problem. And in the second place is the frequent rain and high humidity in Taiwan. And many of them have never seen cockroach before in their home country. So they say this kind of insect had bothered their experience living in Taiwan. And some of them share that sometimes they run into some bus driver that is really mean and may drive in a wild style that shock them. And pollution was proposed by a student in Ireland, and he said that he thinks motorcycles and cars are too many in Taiwan and cause the air polluted. And it's worth to note that students in Malaysia and Indonesia say that they are not uncomfortable with seeing LGBT in Taiwan because in their country it's illegal and coming out in public could even be a crime. And now that then comes to the discrimination and stereotypes. It's happy to hear that most of them did not encounter discrimination in Taiwan, but there are still some cases and some stereotypes that they face. And the first one is a student from St. Vincent and the Grenadines said that he was once rejected by the school for he might who is a black person, and the school think that he might scare the students studying there and make them uncomfortable. And a student from Korea wanted to tell that not all the Koreans love to eat spicy food. And a Russian student said that when Taiwanese people see a person with blonde hair and blue eyes, they will regard the person as American at the first moment. Even so, the Russian student had told the other side that he is from the biggest world in the world. And last is something additional that our interviewees want to share with Taiwanese students. The first one is, if you want to start a business, go to South Asia because everything are cheap there. And the second is, dreamers are not that on time, and also social injustice and bad things have happened in history. People nowadays have changed. So, and you should be aware of your words when telling these kind of jokes to German. And the last one is due to the Ukraine-Russia war. People have bad impression on Russia, but actually citizens in Russia do not want the war happen too. And he wants the Taiwanese student to separate the government and the normal people's thoughts. And some of them have invited us to take a trip to their home country after the pandemic, which is this four countries: St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Republic of Honduras, Ireland, and Malaysia, especially Penang. And this is our presentation. Thanks for listening.
Again, before we jump into the discussion, maybe you want to give us some brief conclusion.
Okay, and I think all of us learn something from this interview. So the first thing is that this interview gives us an opportunity to have a chance to take a conversation with the foreigners, because we often see foreigners in our campus, but none of us or our friends have the courage to talk with them. So thanks to this interview, and we got the chance. And the second thing is that we do learn some differences about culture between Taiwan and their country, and this helps us to make less mistakes when we visit their country. So I think it's a good thing. And last but not least, we get to know how foreigners see Taiwan, because everyone always says the most beautiful view in Taiwan is the people. But is it true? I think that only the people living in this country can know. And fortunately, most of our interviews say that Taiwanese are really friendly. So I'm really happy to hear that. And I think this is what we learned from this interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so here's our final team. So now please grab the chance to ask questions and make comments. Especially those of you who haven't spoken yet. Maybe we can start with you, Michelle.
I think I like the map part. It's very cute, and I like your abundant topics like food, weather, special festival, and taboos, and something addition. I think I learned a lot.
Good. Yeah, I think I do agree with that. Okay, so can we have another speaker? How about Andrea? Any question, comment?
I also really like the math part for tell the audience for the weather and what's their opinion. And I also really like this group to talk a lot of questions, not only asking the question of ourselves, but also give the opportunity to the audience or the interviewees to share their personal experiences or what's their favorite part in their country, or also tell a lot of things from different cultures. So I think it's very knowledgeable.
Good. Yeah, I think I also agree with that. Yeah, I think so. Their presentation is really rich in detail. So I think it really helped the audience to have a glimpse into different cultures. Good. You may want to take the stage so the audience can better see you. So do you have a few more questions or comments? Over the back, how about Janice?
I think you guys designed many special and impressive questions such as dressing style or the atmosphere on campus or the discrimination in their native country. And I think I have never thought about this topic before in you guys. Your presentation made me realize a lot of things. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I have a question about the Russian student you interviewed. Yeah, I think it's interesting. So this Russian student told you about his or her view on the war. I wonder if this Russian student encountered any kind of awkward situation while he or she is studying in Taiwan?
He actually didn't share the actual things to us in person, but he just show us that we really have to tell the government and the normal people apart.
Good. Thank you. So maybe a few more others. Maybe Angela, any question or comment?
There's a black man that says he or she has been discriminated. Did this happen in Taiwan or in foreign country?
He said that that's the person we interviewed from St. Vincent, and he said that he faced a discrimination in Taiwan for people telling, the teachers telling him that the school won't want him to become teachers because the students will be afraid of him.
So I mean, maybe, so he considers working as a teacher in Taiwan in the future, but then the teacher told him that maybe it's not likely.
Yes, because he said that teacher tell him that the students will feel uncomfortable, so the schools won't want them.
I guess maybe it's true among some people in Taiwan. Yeah. Okay. Good. So any other question or comment? Maybe one or two more? Or can we have maybe, so the other Jerry Chung, question or comment?
I want to ask Terry, if you go to Germany, will you try to join the Oktoberfest?
Sure, because I want to know how the beer in that country tastes like.
Okay, good. Maybe one more question from maybe Sean.